All right, week 6 of the fantasy football season wrapping up, and there were a lot of points scored this Sunday, but of course, some of us out there stuck with complete and total duds in our roster. Everybody's injured, everybody's garbage on your team, so it's time to panic on these guys for the rest of the fantasy football season. Okay, Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. I apologize to anybody who woke up early and went and saw the Jaguars. Just a total dud over there in London. And guess what? They're still going to be in London. After a blistering start to the season, he's been great, as we see, the last 3 weeks, over 20 points. Just a 5.7 point performance, only 6 targets, 3 receptions for 27 yards. And this game was out of hand. Dropped a wide open touchdown, it felt like. I guess it wasn't wide open, but he just wasn't getting looked at. And more of my concern is this Jaguars offense. Doug Peterson's definitely getting fired. I doubt he makes it back from London with the Jaguars. They're there the next 2 weeks. I guess 2 weeks total, one more week after this. But it just wasn't good. Now, Thomas is only a rookie. He's clearly the number 1 wide receiver on this team. Maybe if they fire Doug Peterson, they get a little bit of spark, get a little juice going in the offense. He's clearly still the number 1 guy, just an off day for him. A weird game overall against a good Bears defense. I'm not going to freak out too much on BTJ. I'm going to give a panic at a 5.3. 5.3 for Brian Thomas Jr. Starting to get concerned because the Jaguars season could spiral out of control. They're already one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the NFL. But it's only one down week in a year that's been super, super consistent. But this guy, on the other hand, Jaguars running back Travis Etienne, holy crap. I've been holding out hope, begging, pleading. Please, can we get this thing figured out? 7 points 2 weeks ago, 12 points last week, and minus 0.1 points for the Jags. 3 carries, minus 1 yards. Now, he is dealing with a shoulder injury, and everyone's been trying to tell me, oh, it's the shoulder injury, it's the shoulder injury. It's like, no, man. Look at this. 11 carries, 6 carries, 3 carries. He's just not involved in the offense. Even if he is injured, they don't want anything to do with him. Tank Bigsby is the guy. They even are going to their 3rd string running back now. And like I said, the wheels could fall off an already disastrous season for the Jaguars. Doug Peterson getting fired. Maybe Travis Etienne's part of the old regime. I'm freaking out right now if I'm a Travis Etienne owner. We drafted him probably in the 2nd round, maybe early 3rd round, and he's done absolutely nothing for us. Probably one of the biggest disappointments in fantasy this season. I would not hold on to this guy. If you can flip him for anything, I think it's time to move on. His ceiling is just not where it needs to be. It needed to be at like a 15-point bottom floor for him week in and week out, and that's like his ceiling. Like 15 points is his ceiling. He should have been there at the minimums. I'm at a 9.8 on Travis Etienne. I am freaking out about him. I can't play him anymore. It's just like a dead roster spot week in and week out for me. Okay, how about Cardinals running back James Conner's been pretty solid all season. 18.3 2 weeks ago, 14 points last week, just 6.6 points this week against, a Packers defense that really hasn't been good. They've given up a lot of yards and a lot of scores. They force a lot of turnovers, but only 7 carries, 24 yards. The Cardinals just got behind way too quick in this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. exits early with a concussion. We'll see how that goes for them. But the biggest thing with this Cardinals team is I don't like Kyler Murray, man. It was a nice win for them last week, but he is just so up and down. He quits on his team so early. He announces a sponsorship with Call of Duty, so he's going to be checked out for the rest of the year, gaming too much. He calling out the haters over there. Why don't you worry about film, bro? Because I know you're sitting there in front of your Xbox every single day, and that's going to hurt us James Conner owners. It's going to hurt anybody who really believed in this Cardinals team. Only 6.6 points this week, 7 carries, 24 yards. Just not good enough. Did have 4 receptions on 5 targets, but still a measly 22 yards. It needs to be more involved. The Cardinals are best when James Conner's touching the rock. He just makes plays for them, helps move the chains. And I just think they get away from him too early, especially when things feel like they're sliding out of control. Keep feeding James Conner no matter the situation. And look, they came back against San Francisco because they stuck to that run game, because they started running the football, and they had that nice comeback. So I'm not going to do too much panic on James Conner, but the Cardinals are bad. I don't think they're good this year. I'm going to put it at 6.4 for James Conner on my panic meter. I think he'll give you some really good weeks throughout the season, but we might be looking at a lot more volatility than we thought we would. Okay, Saquon with kind of a dud out of the bye. He's been awesome to start this season, but the last 2 weeks really down after 33 against New Orleans, 13.6 a bye week, and then 7.4. That's not getting it done for you as a fantasy owner, especially where you drafted Saquon, end of the first round, early second round. 18 carries today, but only 47 yards. Now, Cleveland's defense has been kind of hot or cold. I was expecting a bad day from them defensively, but it just, they did a good job. The Eagles' offense is what concerns me. Now, you got both wide receivers back. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, they both had touchdowns. That should help some things out, but only 20 points, a lackluster performance. Your goofball head coach, Nick Sirianni, is doing crazy things to the fans. I got a bad feeling about this Eagles team, where their trajectory is going, but Saquon Barkley is still going to get touches. He's still getting the lion's share. He's going to have his good days. In particularly against weaker run defenses, he's going to feast on them. Expect him to get more into the end zone. I'm not going to panic yet on Barkley. Let's give him a 3.1 on the panic meter. Just something to keep our eye on because the Eagles, I don't trust this team, but Saquon is too much of a dog to let us down. Okay, how about Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy? And honestly, you could put any Browns guy on here. David Njoku, Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper. This whole Browns offense has just been a dumpster fire. 2.6 points last week, 4.5 points for Jeudy this week, who's supposed to be a perennial number 2 wide receiver in a good offense. Deshaun Watson's just bad, man. He's awful. They can't throw the football. They can't get the ball to anybody. This is one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL with the Eagles, and they could get nothing going for them. I'm just abandoning all hope unless you have Nick Chubb, and it's like they're going to run Chubb into the ground, and Nick Chubb just can somehow massively transform this offense in Cleveland. I'm out on pretty much everybody here. It's bad, man. I don't want anything to do with Deshaun Watson. He's a terrible human being, and he's easily the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. He is massively holding back the Cleveland Browns. I would be praying to get a Jameis Winston fix. Just get Jameis out there. We know Jameis is going to turn the ball over. He's going to throw picks. But my God, Jameis Winston's going to throw the ball downfield to our playmakers. Let our skill position guys go and make plays. And that's what we desperately, desperately need is a Browns offense and as Browns fantasy owners. But things are looking really bad with Deshaun Watson right now. I'm putting Jerry Jeudy at a 8.2 on the panic meter. It's not good. I don't feel like I can start any guy on the Browns with any sort of faith. Sometimes they'll have good games. Most of the time, it's a lot of crap with disaster quarterback play. Let's hope Jameis Winston can take over soon enough. Okay, Rico Dowdle, we've been looking for a running back with this Cowboys team, and he ends up having an okay day. Really 2 good weeks, 13.1 2 weeks ago on a Thursday, 19.4 last week, kind of his breakout game against the Steelers. And we were expecting a decent day again, even though the Lions defense is pretty good against the run, but only 10.5, just 5 carries. Now, he did have 6 targets and 5 receptions, so that does help him out a lot in your PPR and half PPR formats. But this Cowboys team as a whole is a disaster. They don't do anything well. Their defense is bad. Their offense is bad. They can't block. Dak is just like kind of a fed up, overpaid quarterback at this point. CeeDee Lamb is checked out and fed up with this thing. I think this is just bad for the Cowboys all around. I'm not happy if I'm a Cowboys owner. They're going to get behind in a lot of games, so they're going to have to throw the ball a ton. And if you own Rico Dowdle or Zeke Elliott, I don't think there's opportunities for them to have nice days on the ground. You're not going to get many more Pittsburghs on the season. You're going to get teams like San Francisco who are going to score points against you. It's not good. I think the Cowboys have a bye coming up, so maybe they get a reset. Maybe they figure something out in the running game, but I just can't trust these Cowboys running backs whatsoever. I'm going to put the panic meter at a 7.2 just because the Cowboys are still potentially a team that on any given week, they could put up a ton of points, and maybe you'll get your poach touchdown in there. Thankfully, my running back got into the end zone. He's got 10 carries for 12 yards, but he caught a touchdown for us. So I still think there is some potential there. But man, I don't want to rely on Rico Dowdle to be a starting running back in my lineup. And finally, George Pickens, Steelers wide receiver. Pickens not good the last 2 weeks. He was doing okay. He is supposed to be a number one guy. And the Steelers offense just hasn't been great. Now, they moved the ball a lot better against Vegas, but only 8.3 points for him on 8 targets. I don't know, man. Pickens is just kind of a goofy character. He's a head case. My panic level on Pickens is he's always open. It just goofball nonsense. He complains a lot. He isn't as good as he thinks he is. He's a fine wide receiver, but it's just such a headache to watch George Pickens play. It's so frustrating. He'll make crazy, insane catches. It'll get called back on a penalty, or he'll be out of bounds, or he'll slightly bobble it and it'll be an incomplete pass. I just can't rely on Pickens to do anything. And more importantly, I can't rely on the Steelers' offense to be good. Now, they are good against bad defenses. They've been solid, but against decent defenses, they've been abysmal. They'd much rather run the football. Justin Fields also running it on his own as the quarterback. It just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of options out there. George Pickens just isn't your kind of guy, and it's disappointing. You want to find more value out of a wide receiver one on a team. I mean, look at Deontay Johnson. He's completely turned around his fantasy season from like just a perspective of getting a real quarterback in there. I think maybe George Pickens needs like a better quarterback in there that can throw the ball, or a change of scenery, because it's just not great in Pittsburgh, especially where you drafted him. You drafted him to be a wide receiver one, and he's putting up, I mean, this is just not good enough what he's putting up there. So George Pickens, LOL, he is always open. I'd start to get worried about him. But that's going to do it for us this week. Let me know in the comments below, who are you freaking out about? Is there anybody out there that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. We got daily fantasy content for you guys. All the things you need out there to win week in and week out. Your must-starts, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, tight ends for each and every matchup. Your waiver wire targets, guys, you should be targeting on the waiver wire. Potential buy lows, your boomer bust starts of the week. We got all that excellent content out there for you guys, but make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a thing. Also, check out the links down below if you want to play Underdog Fantasy. Sign up using code THECATCH for up to $1,000 in deposit match. That's code THECATCH at Underdog. Yeah, again, like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.